how you got into music in the first place.
No, not necessarily. So
No?
my mother was on kind of like an off-Broadway thing. She was
Oh, nice.
like a stage performer. And so she had me in singing and my sisters. I remember me and my sister were both in singing lessons together. Just as humans, we have a little bit of an obligation to pursue truth. It's like,
Yes.
I think God is a representation of truth. And if God exists, like truth exists. And likewise, if truth exists, then like some higher power has to exist. And it's not a coincidence that pointing yourself towards that will lead to such a better life and would lead to such a better world, if people cared for it. But, you know,
All right. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another week on the Real Country Podcast. This time we have one of the biggest and the brightest names in the biz right now, all the way from Texas, I think, Mr. Coleman Jennings. How are you?
good, just living the dream.
Oh, I love that. Living the dream. It's a good dream to be living, sir. I appreciate you being here. I know that you're a busy person. Are you in Texas right now or are you on the road?
I'm in Austin right now. I'm from Austin.
Nice.
Just got back today from being on the road with Dwight Yoakam, which was awesome. And
Oh,
I'm going out again soon. So,
yeah. Well, we'll have to talk all about the Dwight Yoakam thing. I think I read that and I was like, that has got to be one of the people out there right now that I would love to meet. What was it like? What was that like? Is he cool?
yeah, he was cool. I only met him briefly.
Yeah.
Not too long. We talked a little bit, but the shows were great. Energy was great. He sound honestly, his singing was really good. Like his singing,
Yeah.
it surprised me how, yeah, it was just even that I think he's, I don't want to get it wrong, but I think he's 70 or something, or maybe he's
Oh my
60.
gosh.
He's either 60 or 70. Someone told me around that age. I should probably know that, but his voice was impressively good for being a little older, and the music was
Yeah.
still good, and we had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was awesome.
I love that. High energy crowd. I know 60 or 70, either way, really impressive. Like, that's awesome. He's still got so much energy. Well, so you said you're from Austin, like born and raised Austin?
Yeah, yeah. Well, technically, actually, I was born in New York. My dad is from Austin.
Okay.
My dad was actually born in New Mexico, and then my dad lived in Houston, Dallas, and Austin his whole life. My dad went to UT, and he worked briefly in New York, which is where I was born, and then moved back to Austin, and then kind of grew up here my whole
Oh,
life.
wow. Like city, New York City city?
Yeah, I try. I don't like telling people that.
Okay.
I wish I was born and raised. I mean, I've lived here like my entire life, but
Okay, that
that's
counts.
I wasn't born
Yeah.
here. Sucks.
Well, when you're a baby, it's not like you're absorbing all of the things when you're just born, right out of the gate. So Texas, you grew up in Texas.
Yes, in
Yeah,
Austin,
love
as
that.
my dad did.
Austin's cool. Live music capital of the country, I guess they say down there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's not anymore for sure.
No.
Like I would say that Nashville is definitely both the live and the recording music capital, at least of America. I
Yeah.
mean, Austin maybe back in the day used to be more music focused, but now it feels like the world's just taken over and it's technology, it's, all the kinds of music that are a little put on. And
Yeah.
it's not what I imagine it once was. Or like when my dad was there, he was Stevie Ray Vaughan was playing around when he was in college. Like,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
but
Very cool. I know I kind of feel the same about, Nashville. I've been here since God, how long have I been here now? Geez, since like 2013. And even since then it's changed so much with like you were kind of saying there on Broadway, there's maybe one or two places that like you'd see people who are playing either their own stuff or like classics and not like the top 40 covers. So and I'm sure back in the day it was way, way different.
yeah, I think the entire world and the entire music thing is just gone very astray, which we can talk about more in depth on ever, but it's just
Yeah, I
it's
would
all
definitely love to get into that. No, I know I would love your opinions on that too, because I kind of have my own there. But let's. Are you up here every now and then? Like, do you come here to write or anything like that, or are you more of a solo writer?
yeah, the only times I've been to Nashville are to meet the record label, to have meetings with the label or
Yeah,
manage or agents. And so like they fly me out sometimes just to do that stuff. But other than that, I've never
sure.
or like I've had a show there once. But other than that, I've never gone up there. I did one writing thing once at like a retreat. It was in Texas. It was in San
Okay.
Antonio. Like Randy Rogers was there, Tom Myers was there, William Beckman was there.
Nice.
and a bunch of other people. And I was the first one I ever did. And I specifically told my people before, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this. Like, I don't really want to, not in a way that's like a, not because of the people or because of the thing. It's just I feel like I'm not like my style isn't conducive to writing for people or having people write for me, not in an arrogant way, just in a way of
Yeah,
like I think I'm doing something different where it's like, I wouldn't put culture wall in a room with certain people and then expect anything to or expect it to be normal or natural. It feels a little I felt like it was gonna be hard for me, felt like it wasn't gonna work. And then I got there and it was surprisingly it was super fun. Like I absolutely loved everybody and I had
nice.
fun like kind of messing around. But I will still say like I still came at it with the same thing before, which is like I just don't feel like I'm ever gonna be like a co-writer. Maybe I could write songs with other people that, specific other people and like really try, but in general for my stuff, like I want to write everything for myself, on all the
Yeah,
albums almost that I ever make. I want it all to be mine own unless I'm specifically doing something duo. Like if I'm pairing up with one person or two people that I really want to do like Crosby, Stills and Nash or something, like that
sure.
sort of
A
thing.
special collab, special event. Yeah.
Exactly. But other than that, I like being solo for the time.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, you're very, very much a unique style that, and I mean, to each their own, which that's great because you're obviously doing something right. Everybody, I was like scrolling through your Instagram and kind of pulling out some talking points and stuff, and it's just like there is so much love from the fans. They're just like, bro, release new music all the time. I love your stuff. Best voice in country music, all that kind of stuff, which is I'm sure that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I love, I love, I'm slow to release things clearly, or I'm very like, I mean, it's not necessarily me. It's, if things have kind of just happened that have taken a little longer than is ideal, but I
Sure.
think, I have so much music. Like I still got multiple albums I could put down right now if I was able to,
Dang. Yeah.
I have so much. I just want to like, if it was me, I would just do it all now. I would just put it all out immediately, and I would just live my life. It's not about for me. I'm not like I try to genuinely as much as I can be like. It's
Yeah.
not about the fame. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the likes or the views. And it's easy to say that, right? It's hard to actually internalize that, live that, and genuinely be like, okay, pursue things with genuine disregard for like
The outcome.
stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah. So interesting. I love that because that seems like an approach that like not a lot of people take. Like, here's all of my stuff that I have written for forever. I'm just gonna drop it, and if you like it, listen to it. But they kind of have like this slow roll thing where you got to release one every now and then up to the album and stuff like that. Well, I'm sure we'll get into the writing style too here soon because I have a lot of questions about kind of how you are able to write so much and where you get your inspirations from. But also, I'm super interested in how you got into music in the first place. Can you kinda talk me through, like, was that something that you kinda always knew was your path or
No, not necessarily. So
no?
my mother was on kind of like an off Broadway thing. She was
Oh, nice.
like a stage performer. And so she had me in singing and my sisters. I remember me and my sister were both in singing lessons together, just private lessons, me and her when we were
Yeah,
like 8, 9, like before we were double digits. Like she had us sing and then I sang in, since I was that old or since I was in elementary school, I sang in choirs and then select choirs and then a cappella groups all the way until I got to college. And it was not until I got to college finally that for the first time in my life, wasn't singing like regularly. And so I remember I just remember having a very choral voice. If you've ever heard choir singing or that sort of thing, that's how I sung, right? And I was so, when
yeah,
you're in
I was
muscle
in
memory,
choir too.
yeah,
I
when
was
you're in
so
that
bad at it.
when you're in that muscle memory, you're kind of locked into that way of singing. I remember I was so distraught with the fact that I couldn't sing normally, or like for real, I genuinely could not really sing normally. And I would try to, because I would always envision myself like, oh, one day I would love, because I was really obsessed with guitar and I wasn't that into it. But once like sophomore year of high school hit, I poured my whole life into it. And it's all I did every single day,
Oh, wow, yeah.
like all day long, just crazy hours. But then because the voice was never there, I was kind of like, well, I'm not ever going to be able to do anything with it. Maybe I can be like a studio musician or kind of just be a guitar player. But when I came into college, no part of me was thinking like that I would do that for a career. I was going to switch to either like engineering or finance or economics, like business, and just do kind of like that thing. I got to make money, got to get a normal job, sort of thing.
Yeah, of
But
course.
that's what my parents, my parents were deeply supportive, but that was still like, that's still, I think a relatively healthy thing to think. And it was kind of true. But I still was so in love with guitar. And I was still playing it that freshman year of college. And then I remembered praying in high school about how, one day I just wish I could do this thing, but I never expected it to actually happen.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like all just things just kind of happen sometimes in a way that's weird, where I was asked to be in a cover band, and I never really thought like, I don't know, I never thought that I would do anything or start a band. I didn't have the confidence to do that. I was kind of insecure, more just like, no, that's not who I am. And then I got into this cover band and started playing around, and then it just kinda happened. I mean, I was in this cover band with a guy named Joseph Hawk, and then it was maybe, like, 8 months into the cover band, slowly over time, I started to realize, like, "Okay, well, maybe I can just do this. Like, maybe I
Yeah.
can." And I kinda did find a voice all of a sudden, and all of a sudden, it was like I hadn't sang in a year for the first time in my life, and then I started singing again in this cover band, and it was like a voice, like, just arrived in me that I'd never, like, found before, that I'd always wished for, that had never come, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it was just there. And I never wanted to sound like Willie. I never wanted to sound like anyone. I never thought I was gonna be even remotely successful in it. Like, I was just doing it for pure love of the game, just
Sure.
doing it. And then eventually in the cover band, the rest of the cover band kinda started to realize, like, maybe things would be a little better with this other guy, so they all left that band and we all formed my band, which I still feel bad to Joseph Hawk for that, but, uh, yeah, that's kinda how it
Oh,
started.
yeah. What a good story. Things just, like, happen when you least expect it, which is so like, you found your sound, you kind of fell into your voice, which is so interesting. And with your take on kind of like a people say traditional sound, how did you kinda know that this was the music that you were gonna end up playing? Were you playing kind of like traditional country western in the cover band, or were you doing kinda everything? How did you land on, I guess, where you're at now?
That's a great question. I mean, I wasn't really thinking about it. Like everything, the more and more I look back, the more and more it's just like everything happened so naturally. Like I never did many things on purpose. I kind of just
Yeah.
was doing things, loving music, kind of just having fun, being young. I loved country music, a very specific type of country music. A lot of my life, specifically more high school and the latter parts of high school. Which
Yeah.
was, I always say that country is it's my least favorite genre and it's my most favorite genre because it has
Yeah.
such extremes of like what exists within it. And I
Yeah.
really, really don't like a very specific type of it, but I also really, really love like I fell in love with Blaze Foley. And that was one of the huge
Oh,
ones where
absolutely. Yeah.
I was kinda sad and stuff, and I just really resonated with that, and I felt like they were written, like, just for me. I was like, "These songs were, like, exactly how I feel." And Townes' songs, and sort of like Gordon Lightfoot, Jim Croce things, and then obviously, like, Merle Haggard, and then kinda, like, just a lot of the more folk sorta country, the John
Sure.
Hartfords and stuff, and it was kind of I loved that, but then I got into the cover band, and it was '90s kinda country. It was a '90s cover band, and I loved it. I had a great time, and I love a lot of '90s. I mean, I love Alan Jackson and
Yeah.
and I'm huge into that too, but, kinda just when we kinda fizzled out of that band and started my own band, it was kinda just natural. We never thought about, like, what are we gonna do? We just started playing stuff, and we were playing a lot of fraternities and stuff, so we played a lot of rock. We played tons of rock, we made up tons of rock songs. I still have, like, whole albums of just rocks originals we could put out, we made tons of outlaw songs and country songs, and we were just having fun. We were just making music, and I think that comes through in the music is kinda like it's not really all country. I mean, it is country, but at the same time, I put out a song recently called Marianaville, and it's like, that doesn't really feel
Love that
right.
one.
It's
Yeah.
country, but it's also, like, kinda not. It's kinda Eagles-ish, kinda I don't know, we're fusing things without thinking about it.
Yeah, and your recent one's very kinda like with their rocky, bluesy feel to it too. So a little bit of everything from everywhere. That's so cool how it all just happened that way. Obviously meant to be. Absolutely,
Yeah.
obviously meant to be. Yeah. And the way that you said too, like it's your least and most favorite genre. I think there's so many. And it kinda to me too, it's like there's so many interpretations of the genre itself, and I find, like, I'm talking to, maybe, like, recent kids who've graduated Belmont, and they say that they like country, and I'm like, "That's probably a different country than what, I say I like country too." What's out there, like, top 40 mainstream radio versus, kind of I was born in the '90s too, so I consider it very much something different. But, yeah, so I 100% agree with you there. Are you still in school or did you graduate?
Yeah, I graduated 2 years ago, about right this
Yeah,
time. I mean, I guess a year and, like, 8 months ago or something, whatever,
nice.
May, it's 2 years ago, but yeah, I graduated UT.
Congrats.
So, actually, hold on, technically not technically graduated. I'm in my last class technically right now. I graduated, I walked, but I had 1 class
Sure.
left, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just take it whenever," because I was an English major. I was originally English. I was gonna switch into engineering or economics. I actually did switch into economics for a second, but then the music
Yeah.
started working, and I said, "Nah, I'm just gonna switch back because I don't want to. I
No.
don't. I can't. I don't want this much on my plate." So I
Sure.
kind of finished with the English, and then had literally one class left, 98% on my audit, and then kind of was like, "Oh, I'll do it eventually." And then 2 years have gone by, and I finally was like, "Okay." My pet dad was like, "You have to take it. Like, you have to graduate. You know, it's so important. You graduate." And I was like, wouldn't it be cooler to say I didn't graduate? But
Exactly, yeah, that you dropped out to pursue music full time, but hey, good for you for doing both of it. Yeah, it's not like, you weren't doing anything. It's not like you were busy or anything, like playing music, going everywhere. Well, that's awesome, man. I remember being so bogged down in school. That was eons ago, but like thinking about how much work like college is, and you said you were kind of in a cover band at the time. Like, how did you balance the two? Like, was it tough to kind of?
no, it was nothing crazy, because I've
No,
people have said that before where they've specifically in college more people are like, "Oh, I like, you're working so hard. I can't believe you're doing," and I'm just like, "No." I think
no,
some things in life, it's like we all have there's a difference between like real work and then kind of just like time that the world takes from you. It's like
yeah,
even in I've worked in like as a busboy once. I've never worked like a real 9 to 5 because I've just been doing this after college. But I can imagine the people I know that do it. It's like, well, you're doing only so much real work, and then a lot of the time you're just hanging out or you kind of just messing around. The same thing for school. It's like I've tried as hard as I could to get A's or high B's, do as least work as possible, not
yeah,
because just because I had other stuff I wanted to do, or like
100%, a hundred
I think
percent, yeah.
that's not a bad way to exist at all. I think it's like the world just it's really messed up today, and like they're gonna siphon your time, and like you have to figure out how to like disregard that, pursue what's true, live the way humans are supposed to live, not the way that they're forcing you to live. So
Yeah,
I found tons of time. Like I was, I found tons of time, and I spent all that time just playing, living, having fun, partying
good.
too much, then more than I should have, and then making music and having a good time.
At that age, I don't know if there's such thing as too much partying. Like you said, you gotta have fun. You gotta experience it. You gotta do the thing. And, obviously you found your calling and that's great because you're right. Like everything out there right now is just fighting for your attention. Everything. Like
Yeah.
just so
And
I
then
mean,
the
yeah.
school system especially too. It's just, yes, the whole it's like the world is endlessly speeding up and we seem to like we can't do anything to stop it, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, at what point does it become an evil, or what point is like technology and the whole world like when are it's just barreling forward, and it seems like it's gonna like explode at some point
Yeah.
because nothing's stopping it. And the same thing is in the school system where like, I can imagine a time when on my grandparents' time before that, it's school was different. It was respectable, right? The professors
Yeah.
were respectable and they were respected by their community. And when the teachers are respected, then better teachers go to teach, right? But now it's like it's not as respected as a profession. And so like, not as many people try to do it. And so then you get worse teachers. And then half the teachers in the university
Or
are
less
kind of,
qualifications. Yeah. They're not held to a higher standard.
yeah. And so a ton of the teachers in the university are just like, I mean, I just don't even want to like, they're just really bad, honestly. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're just sitting in these classes, especially I think my generation and younger just really relates to this where it's like this is just it feels really pointless. It feels like I can learn this all on my own, you know. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's good to have accountability for sure, but once you get to a certain age, it starts to become it's no longer accountability, it's a nuisance on your time
Yeah.
and your life. And if you're doing something, you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna be an engineer, you're gonna do these things, it's like, yeah, great, wonderful, go to school. But if you're if it's not for something like that, it's I don't know, 22 years of your life to kind of like, you know,
Yes, it is. Just to
actual
be put on that conveyor belt, just churning out people who know the same thing. Yeah.
actual genuine learning, like actually trying to learn, you could take half of the amount of time we spend in school and make a child twice as smart by the time they're 16 or 17 if it was really done correctly.
I couldn't agree more. You're just, yeah, I could not agree more. And there's just saying out there that I told to somebody before and they'd never heard it before, but it was like if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll think it's stupid. Have you heard that before? Like it'll
I
spend
think
its life
Einstein
thinking
says
it's
that.
stupid. Is that Einstein? I heard that because I did okay in school, but it was never like the thing that I love to do, right? And so it's like I did it because I felt like I had to. And then when I grew up and kind of actually like got into my career, everything that I do now and everything that I've done since I literally graduated was self-taught. And I
Mhm.
think back on all of the things that,
Yep.
like, I was kinda taught through school and maybe some, like, commonsensical stuff, but that ended, like, as soon as I left elementary school, you know what I mean? Like, I feel the same way you do about they're kinda teaching everybody to learn the same way and learn the same things and not explore their own inner creativity and very much follow your book on just go out there and figure out what you wanna do on your own and have fun and, kind of just make the mistakes and learn along the way. I think
Yep.
that's an awesome message.
100%. I completely agree with that. When the real
Yeah,
world is moving so fast, it's like the professors genuinely have no idea what's going on. They can't teach you the
right.
things that you need to know.
What
So
are
it's
we in a
really,
hurry for? Like, what are we in a hurry? Like, everybody just needs to slow down, like, calm down, slow down,
yeah,
take inventory of what's really important. Yeah,
yeah, I wish the world could slow down. But
you and me
mm,
both. Absolutely. And just some days I think about just, saying just throwing everything away and, getting a good old RV and just kinda traveling, and the more I
yeah,
say this, the more I think about it. It's just like, I think I'm gonna actually do it. I'm
yeah,
just gonna just say, like, yeah.
that's my dream. That I just want to own land and kind of like live on there, be at peace,
Yes.
be able to make healthy food that's not poisoning me. Be out in the sun, exercise, be at peace, think,
Dude, yeah, good grief.
make songs, read, write. It's sort of
Yeah.
like, yeah. Unfortunately, we're thrown into a time of existence where it's like the thing that's supposed to be normal is the thing that's no longer normal. And
Hardest
this
thing ever.
strange life is sort of like, you know,
Yeah, hustle culture and, I know people just speeding up for no particular reason, but I do see, and I don't know if you experience this too, but I think a lot of people share this sentiment. I really do. I feel like a lot of people are kind of realizing that, and there's a big push. I think, like, and of course, I'm getting all of my evidence from socials, which might be red flag one, but I'm seeing everybody kind of pushing for like I guess they call it the analog movement. Like everyone's kind of trying to take a step back, go less technology, like, pull away from everything quick and technology and AI and all that stuff and really come back to, like, how quickly, like, the agritourism industry exploded and the people who are so interested in doing homesteading and farming and all that kinda stuff, and I like seeing that, but, yeah, it's sad how hard it is actually to make that work these days, but, yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. There's a huge movement, I think in my generation and coming in general, both just like ideologically, both, in all respects, where it's like it feels like we're on the precipice of something. And I think my generation and a little younger is kind of just realizing like, you know, things are a little broken or things aren't working right. And it's like, how are we gonna fix them? Even in social
Yes.
media, it's like it's amazing how it's such a vice and it's such an obvious vice, like, and yet we all, like, can't escape it, right? The fact that we were all forced with these iPhones and all these things in this world, and it's like, if you were to read a novel and it had the word iPhone in it, you would, like, be weirded out by that. It would be annoying to even read about that, and yet it's like, how weird is that? It's an actual part of, like, our complete lives every single day, and yet we are aware of the fact that we don't even wanna read its name because it's so, like, obviously evil to our, like, subconscious. But we can't do anything to escape it. It's just thrust upon us.
Yeah.
And I really feel that, like, with social media. I just don't like it. I mean, I love the fact that it gives us so much knowledge and access to information and all this stuff, and it's super cool. And if we could all, be good people and regulate ourselves and not just overindulge, it would be wonderful. But like, that's hard. And not only that, it's just like I don't like the fact that I gotta post and I gotta do all these things to like make myself known, and I gotta, it's all about you know, I'm aware of, like, what I should do to do those things, but I'm also, like, morally opposed to it. Like, I know that if I post stuff that's more outrageous, funnier, more often, less caring about, like, respect for myself, like, it'll do so much better, right? You just wanna make everything as overreact as possible, do crazy stuff, and then you'll be famous, right? But it's a fleeting fame, and it's kinda like it's not lasting respect. And it's like, I don't like that. I don't wanna be a part of it, but at the same time, it's like I kinda have to, and I kinda feel like I should a little bit, but, it's just this tug where I don't know what to do.
Again, couldn't agree more. It's like one of those realities, you're right, that we just can't escape from. And yeah, 100%, your generation, they feel like, they just wanna take a step back, and it's like the people I don't know, I guess maybe Gen Z, I'm a millennial, I don't even know what comes after that. I don't follow any of that stuff, but they kinda grew up in the era where too, like, I'm being forced to try to figure out what to do now with, like, AI and stuff, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm just, like, I'm just getting used to just, like, using social media on a regular basis, like, what are we doing, And I think these kids they're going through school that they were told that they needed to do, but then they're coming into a workforce where it's like, "Hey, good luck. Your positions are gonna be obsolete in, like, 2 years, so you better get on it," you know what I mean? It's like, why? For what purpose,
But
reason? They're kinda, like,
I can't
locked
even
in that factor.
I can't even imagine what's gonna happen. Like, it depends on if
Yeah.
AI really does what it says it's gonna do. Maybe it will, maybe it will not live up to the hype, but either way, it's gonna displaces a lot of people's jobs, and it's just going to make things even faster. It seems like this world, it just worships it, like their god is efficiency. Their god is like comfort and efficiency. It's like, let's maximize those things to the max, and then pretend as if that's like the point of life. It's like, you know no, I'd rather do things slower. That's a little harder. Be at peace.
With intention and meaning and be at peace. Yeah, efficiency for profit's sake, I think would be like, I don't know, the overarching theme in that aspect. I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could literally talk for like 48 hours straight about all this kind of stuff. Like what we're seeing, what social media is doing and how like crazy and scary AI is and just they engineer social media to be addictive, even specifically for like younger kids, which is
oh my god.
absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
literacy rates are going down for children, which is insane.
I
Like,
mean, yeah.
people are literally getting dumber, which is just, like, insane, right?
Can't
It's
even
like, life expectancy in Canada is going down, I think, significantly. It's like, what is going on? But I think it's obvious, or it's just like, I don't know, we're living against the natural law? Like,
yeah,
unfortunately, there are rules to
we are.
existence, and it's like,
Mhm.
we are not God. So if you try to just pervert them, live your own way, say, "I know truth, we can fix it all with science, we can do that." It's like, no, you can't, unfortunately. Like, there's some sort of limits to the world, and, you can't just throw chemicals in every food and then expect it not to do anything to people. You can't just, like, nature's nature for a reason. We can't make our own food. You gotta get it from
Same.
the world. So,
Efficiency for profit, though. Keep that thing shelf life longer so they don't have to make as much and you can charge more for I mean, it's just yeah, it's insane, but you're right, we're not God. I have a very firm belief that things will self-regulate themselves, like, in every aspect of the environment, like, physiologically, everything that self-regulation is, like, the power. I think things are gonna start to eventually right themselves regardless of what, we try to force, but
I think they are
interesting.
too. And if we
Yeah.
don't, then God will come and do it for us, or
Yep.
the world will, be gone away or something. But yeah, and I think the same thing exists in music, where it's like,
Sure.
I remember that I was kind of like, I was very sort of alone to an extent in the latter parts of high school. I was very kind of isolated, maybe like like half maybe on purpose, just kind of feeling like I was this artist sort of thing, that old thing. And kind of because I was so kind of insulated those years, like, I remember getting to college and, like, people wouldn't even believe the things that, like, I didn't know, right? Because I never did a lot of TikTok. I didn't really use Instagram. I wasn't in any, like, particularly big friend groups, and I was just like, I was in my own world of just loving art and loving music and trying and just
Yeah.
kinda, like, having a humility that probably is actually tied to a little bit of insecurity, right? There's the true humility and there's like true confidence, but then there's insecurity and ego. And sometimes it's like they get meshed together. And I think I was probably a little insecure, but that lended itself to also being a little humble. And so I just loved like learning guitar and playing music. And I remember watching like so much Gems on VHS and Western AF
Ah,
and sort of like
love
YouTube
gems
stuff
on VHS. Yeah.
and all
Yes.
that sort of stuff to come to that point. It's like I remember that time and I remember like loving that and sort of like how fast it's already gone to a world where it's like YouTube just isn't near as important. Things have gotten increasingly people are just learning how to manipulate the internet and social media and people's conscience with overreactions and all this stuff. And it's no longer just raw and real. Like the raw and real stuff is even harder to get through now. Like I have no idea how I've even managed to like kind of get through a little bit. Not to say that I'm like the pinnacle of raw and real, but like
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of like maybe, the Lord doing something. But I see most of the stuff nowadays and I'm like, I don't know of anybody else my age or like in my generation that I feel like is, not doing the same thing pretty much. I mean, yes, there are exceptions. There's tons of people that are, everybody's doing things a little bit differently, but it's nowhere even it's not even close to what it was in the 70s. Like, you look at the music in the 70s, every artist is genuinely unique. Like, they're actually genuinely different from one another. Like,
Yep.
this person sounds wildly different from this, and this person has a totally different style of voice than this person. Whereas today, it's like,
They're not trying to
let's
fit
all
a mold. They're not
yeah.
trying to fit a mold that is, like,
Nowadays, it's
yeah,
like,
been pressed on them.
let's all try to, like, basically sound very similar to this same thing or idea, and then kind of, like, we have our own tiny changes to it, and it's just like I'm not interested in that, not in a way that's egotistical, but in a way that's like that's not what art is. Art is not imitation, right? Like, people look at me and it's like I've heard some, Willie comparisons in this, and I'm not a huge fan of them. I really don't want to sound like anybody. I want to try to be original. I want to do this thing, but they'll say, you sound like this guy, and everybody, says people sound like other people. But I'm like, what about like the hundreds and thousands of artists that all sound like each other? Like, you want to talk
Right.
about imitation art? It exists at the top where everybody literally just tries to fit this mold because they want to make money and they want to be famous, and then they just
Yeah.
like don't
What's
admit that
marketable?
or to themselves or to the world. It's like, that's not how it should be.
Good for you. Absolutely. Stand out. I mean, you said maybe you're not the pinnacle. I think you are 100% one of them. And the reason why, like, so many people I think are drawn to your stuff is because that's really, like, what they're craving. I mean, I feel like I can read that in, like, comments and a fan base too. It's like that's really what people want, but when they're told something is good, right? So, like, that's kinda how I see the duality and, like, the genres. Like, sometimes mainstream country feels like they're telling me what's good. Like,
Mhm.
I'm being told this
It's
is
the
good
whole
because
world.
it works. The whole yeah, and that's what they think is good. That's what they think works. But when you do think about real art and you see people who are doing it authentically, geez, and are like writing from a point like you are, people they resonate with that. It's real and they'll like latch onto that. And I think that's kind of, one of the biggest reasons why.
Yeah. I think eventually it'll come back, but it's just
I
so true
agree.
what you said is like, yeah, like it is pushed, things are pushed on us, right? And I think
Mhm.
that's been happening for decades and decades now, where people have been manipulated by a system that's trying to make money off of them. And of course it was like maybe it was not to the same extent that it is now, whereas now it's just gotten increasingly more intense over time. And it's like finally I think we're at a breaking point where hopefully the world reverses direction. But it's like I remember specifically thinking about this when Sabrina Carpenter kinda came to rise because she kinda came to rise relatively recently-ish, and I remember the
Mhm.
time where it was like, I just started seeing this random person on my phone. Like, I'd never ever wanted and had any I'm not even interested in pop music at all. No interest in seeing it, no interest in seeing this person, never even interacting with it, like, never even, like, going to her page and, like, looking through never at all, and yet it was just she was just showing up on my phone, like, all the
Yeah,
just on Instagram, and it was just there, and it's just like, people literally are able to get famous just because people, in positions of I don't know, they just shove it down the world's throat hard enough, and most people are just like, "Oh, because this thing is on my thing, it must be good," or "This must mean it's, like, good music," or "This must mean"
exactly. It must be
people don't even care about music, right? Anybody can sort of, like, sit in an office building and then make songs and then give it to someone who looks pretty and then auto-tune their voice and then say, "Look at this thing, it's really great," and then the world will go, "Oh, yeah, it must be." It's like, that ain't art, that is not, like, how it should be. I wish more people could sort of see that it's the same thing as fast food, right? It's like you can love McDonald's, right? You can genuinely love these things. You can say like, "Oh, I love this because I've had it for so long," but that doesn't
yeah,
make it actually genuinely good for you or good in actuality, right? Like a real, actually amazingly made burger. It's like if you had ate that when you were a kid, it's like you probably would like that, but because you're comforted by this fast food thing, you think that
yeah.
you like it, but you only like it because,
You're
you've been
told to like
raised.
it.
It's not
Yeah.
because it's actually better or because it's good. It's actually worse tasting objectively.
It's not even real. It's not even real food. You're just told to like it and the whole efficiency thing. Like, "Hey, it's there in 2 seconds, it's cheap, whatever." Like, that means it's good. No, I agree completely.
Yeah, and it's like I don't wanna be overly controversial or, I don't wanna shit on anyone. It's like I think I respect everybody that's hustling. I respect everybody that's, like, making music and genuinely love
100%.
it and this and
Yeah,
that, of course, but at the same time, it's like we have to be people have to actually be able to, like, have some balls, stand up, like, say the truth. It's like that's just true.
absolutely.
We're in a world of just complete, like, pandering and, like, making things what they're not, and, like, it's so bad. We live in one of the worst in my opinion, one of the worst times in music that we've seen in I don't know, an exceptionally long time, over
Yeah,
100 years, right? The 20s with jazz and this, and the world was exploding with beauty and music, and even the 70s, and then, psychedelic music and the Grateful Dead, and then the 80s and the 90s, and then all of a sudden, the 2000s, and then all of a sudden it pushes farther and farther. Now it's like, whoa, like, every song in the top tens always just like unlistenable, complete, like may as well be made by a computer. Like,
Yeah, highly overproduced. I don't think that's controversial at all, and I think too, these days it's even more important to take a stand in some of these things because then otherwise you kind of are just drowned out in the noise of, like, everything else that's being said. There's no uniqueness. There's no, unique opinions or anything. So I think having that stance is, yeah, really important.
just pursue, I just, you know, as anybody should, I think as humans, we have a little bit of an obligation to pursue truth. It's like,
Yes.
I think God is a representation of truth. And if God exists, like truth exists. And likewise, if truth exists, then like some higher power has to exist. And it's not a coincidence that pointing yourself towards that will lead to such a better life and would lead to such a better world, if people cared for it. But, you know, most people kind of just like, they don't think about that. Or like, it's kind of like, it's not a priority in our society, right? We live in a society
Yeah.
of relativism. Everything's true. If you think it's true, kind of just do whatever. Everything's great. The painting with just a couple red squares on it is the same as like the Da Vinci's and the Michelangelos. It's like, unfortunately, right, that's not objectively the case. Like, true, if art, what is art? And if art is real, then like great art will last 1,000 years, not because it's like, and not because it's like in the zeitgeist, but just because it's beautiful. It's just objectively beautiful. Like a cathedral or beautiful architecture will always be beautiful. That's what art is. Like a Da Vinci painting will always be beautiful. So will a Picasso. So will even some of the more modern arts. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's just less so today.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. I think people have almost lost the ability to think for themselves over time. Less and less ability to just make those own judgments on their own and just come up with things on their own because they have all this stuff thrust in their face. Like you're told to like this and you're not able to form a you're not able to form any creative thought, which is like you don't have any room to. Your brain is overloaded by the stuff that you're consuming and watching and you don't have time to go out and slow down and, like, take in the environment and come up with something creative on your own and create something of your own. That's one of the craziest things that I feel like, this generation is kind of at loss for, is just, like, I can tell whenever I've had a day where I've spent too much time on social media because at the end of the day, I'm just so mentally exhausted that otherwise I would be like, "You know what?" At this point, I would be, like, reaming with ideas, but right now, I just wanna shut down. My brain is so overloaded. I have
Yeah.
no room for creativity or independent thought at all.
That is so true. Just completely in agreement on the whole thing, The world is kind of just moving fast and takes up our brain space. And yeah, I don't know.
By
Hope
design, though, my friend.
fix one day, you know?
I think it's by design. They don't want us to think for ourselves because that's scary, right?
Yeah, 100%. Pre-thinking is dangerous to the system,
To the
And
establishment, yes, it is.
I think really like just growing up. I mean, we all grew up in the system, but sort of like growing up and realizing slowly over time, very slowly. And I think really it was the art and the music that helped push me really, deeper into it, which was kind of like realizing how messed up the world is, or realizing how wrong things are, or how like
Yeah,
I had this feeling since I was young that like there were like some forms of art that were better than others, or sort of like I had this love of beauty and this love of art and like being weirded out by the fact that I wasn't finding it in the things that were of today because I was so entrenched in like the music of the 70s and the 60s and the past and even classical music and kind
yeah,
of history stuff. And then all of a sudden getting to college and just being exploded out of my bubble and kind of seeing all this new music that I genuinely wasn't even paying attention to. Like I was paying attention to people like, Marcus King or maybe a little bit of Culture Wall or sort of Gems on VHS stuff and that kind of
yeah,
sort of thing. But I wasn't, I genuinely wasn't even looking into or thinking about all the new stuff. And when I kind of found that, I was like, well, I'd known about, bro country and that sort of thing. But even the whole new movement and stuff, it's kind of like I think it's inching its way towards going back to just complete rawness. But I don't know. I was just surprised. It's sort of like just yeah, that feeling of it feels less beautiful. It doesn't feel like this older stuff does. It doesn't feel like as real. And it's like, what
yeah,
happened? Like, is that actually true? Is that just me and my biases? Am I really just like completely off? Or is there really something missing? And it's like, if there is something missing, then like what happened? How do
yeah.
we fix it?
Perspective. It's gotta be perspective because you think about people, who are young kids these days growing up in the next 10 years, and they're like, "What is beauty?" They never experienced any of that.
Yeah.
They
And
only know the deeply entrenched technological society where then, like, we never know where we're gonna be in 10 years, but they might be looking back on a time like this and just being like, "Whoop, along for that." You know what I mean?
yeah, and people influence art just as much as art influences people, if not
Yeah.
more, right? When you're a child, you're not influencing nothing, but the world is really influencing you, and the art is
You're
really
a sponge. Yeah.
influencing you. So when you're born into a world where, they tell you a red square on a canvas is beauty, and then you're kind of like, well, then you kind of you slowly convince yourself of things that are not true, and that applies to everything. And it's like the more you convince yourself of things that aren't true, you start to the pride of man starts to say, well, it is true. This I think this is true. And it's like, well, what if it's actually not true? It's like that isn't, well, unfortunately, because in 1,000 years it won't be, right? In a
Our
thousand
suggestion,
it
yeah.
will be. Yeah. That goes for everything, beliefs, sort of art, beauty, truth, all of these sort of things is just like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't
I love the red square on the canvas analogy. Like, the red square on the canvas analogy, it's beautiful and you're gonna love it. And it'll be yours for a cool 1.5 milli. But
exactly.
it's
It's
art.
just like I was listening to because I love sort of listening to, stuff on art, stuff on history, stuff
Yeah.
on that sort of thing. And I was listening to someone talk, and I forget they were saying something about how, we live in a world where eventually art kind of got to this turning point where it becomes sort of like, you know, people feel sophisticated and prideful and being like, "Oh, well, I find this beautiful." Oh,
Yeah.
like you don't see the beauty in this, Jackson Pollock randomly painted colors on this canvas, right?
What's
That
wrong with
the
you?
lady in the
Like, yeah.
CIA not like played a part in, but like I don't know. It's like it genuinely becomes this sort of like, you know prideful thing where people will, like, insist that you must like this thing, and if you don't like this thing, then you don't understand, right? You're not smart enough, you're not, intelligent enough, you're not cool enough to sort of understand why this is beautiful. It's like, no,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's just not. I mean, I think there can be beautiful things in like a Jackson Pollock. There can be beauty in randomness. There can be beauty in like different forms of art, like Picasso, exceptionally beautiful, absolutely. But the beauty doesn't come from like if a robot's splatter painted on a canvas, that's not beautiful, right? Even if it looks the same as a Jackson Pollock, and like I can kind of get it to an extent how something like Jackson Pollock could be beautiful because it's like he was the first to do it, kind of. But like
Yeah.
beauty comes from the human part of it, the human aspect of it, the choices that the human made, like
Absolutely.
combined with some sort of unique skill of the person and some sort of like story and some sort of,
Yeah, the story of it. Yeah.
I don't know. It's something I don't know either. I try to piece it all together and be like, what is art, what is beauty? But I'm not I'm not like, PhD on,
Well, you
any
could have fooled me. It sounds like you are.
no, not quite, but
Intelligently about it. No, no, honestly. I mean, it's hard to carry a conversation like this these days. It really is. Like, not very, and I applaud you for that. Not very many people talk about it at all that I've come into contact with. It's like it's refreshing and surprising whenever people bring this kind of stuff up because otherwise I find many conversations are extremely surface level. And this is not to say any conversation I've had in the past with anybody has been boring or not like
oh,
important whatsoever.
I know.
It's few and far between whenever you come across someone and it's just like, you know, it's really not
I
talked about. And that's
I
awesome.
appreciate that
I'm
because
loving
I
it.
I completely agree with that, like, you just can't talk about certain things with certain people, or sometimes, I love to talk about this sort of stuff, and I'll start saying some of
Yeah.
this stuff, and, a lot of people take offense to some things, or maybe I'll say something I didn't even mean to be, you know, offensive, but they're kinda like they don't like analogies of they don't like the sort of truth thing. They don't like the sort of like, "This art's better than this art," because some people, they live in that, right? They really it touches a chord for them because they do like, they have these sort of frameworks in their mind, like, someone like, yourself, and someone, some people are just more like they're open, and they're kind of like they're not offended by any sort of, I don't know, things that are contrary to the norm. But I
Yeah.
think when people are in line with ideas that aren't true, those are the people that get upset at things. Those are the people that get upset when you say something because they're like, it's almost like their soul is aware that it's not true, but their mind is like desperately trying to convince themselves that it is. So they have this like cognitive dissonance that's like they don't like you can tell like, oh, I shouldn't be talking to this person about this thing because it's making them emotional, or like they don't like hearing these things. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I think it's a survival instinct. It feels like a survival instinct because on above it all, people just want to be accepted. And I feel like whenever you form an opinion you don't feel like is of the norm or the way that the herd does, they're not going to see you as somebody who's to be accepted. Like you are too different to be a part of us. And we're like all just
oh,
afraid of not being accepted.
Of course, one part of it's like we would hope that, the people that are different and against the norm, those are the people that would, you know, make it. But it's like that we're not seeing that's the case. Unfortunately, it's like I think the coolest of guys. I mean, there's some exceptions, right? You look at Sturgill and Sierra Farrell, oh my gosh, and Culture Wall, and even other people, absolutely, and even younger people, 100%. There's still so much beautiful art out there, but it's
I agree.
just not like it's just not hitting the way I think it would have in the past, and it's sort of
Yeah.
like it's being tamped, like put down by this massive system that's kind of just like forcing this other type of music that's saying like, come
Yeah.
on.
I'm curious with with these beliefs and kind of the philosophical idea, how do you bring some of that into your own writing? Like when you sit down to write, because I know because we talked about you wanting to kind of do it on your own and keep all the creativity, you want to own that. How does this kind of come through when you sit down and write, or do you have a process that just kind of like come to you, or
Yeah, there's no process. It's kind of just I think it really comes from a place of like I genuinely, truly never really planned on like doing things for the sake of fame, for the sake of money. I just loved it.
sure,
And because I
yeah,
just loved it, I just did it. And when I
mhm,
was, in the early stages of college and stuff, I was just like, when I got in that cover band, I started from my own band. I was like, oh, I gotta write songs. We're like, we gotta make songs. And then it's like, I just loved music for so long. I genuinely like had a pure love for music, for the sake of the music, for nothing else. Like it
yeah,
wasn't planning on being famous. And it was like, I just loved it. And I just loved playing guitar. And it was like I would have done it the rest of my life without doing it for a career. And it was just in that pure love when I started writing songs, it was just relatively easy. Or like because I'd already improvised so much. I'd known so much about chord progressions. I'd known so much about like just songs in general. And I just kind of once I started doing it, it came relatively naturally. And I was like, oh well here you
yeah,
put some chords together and you have here's a different musical idea and you sort of sing you kind of have the melody is the most divine part of it for sure. Or the
yeah,
melody is like I'm not even close to the best melodist or I don't know what the word is for it. Like there's so much exceptional melody out there. That is the core of music where it's like nobody can teach you how to make great melody. That is completely, but you can you can learn how to write sort of, you know, good songs and sort of put good chords down and learn how to write things that are a little more poetic or things that are a little less poetic. And then, hopefully you find a good melody or it's given to you, by God.
yeah. But over time, you build that skill just by doing it over time and sticking to it because of the love of the art,
Yeah.
which it is, yeah, obvious these days. I think to me at least, when you see people with a brand or people writing because they love it, like it
Yeah.
is, it feels like that comes through.
100%. And I think that that comes through in people that like, you look to the past, people like Blaze Foley, Towns, even like the Eagles, even like any
Yeah,
band, come on, in the '70s or the '60s. It's like those people weren't getting in an office building, sitting with a bunch of songwriters and being like, "Let's write a song today.
yeah,
Let's
exactly.
let's look up a
Let's force
song that's
it.
gonna be a hit, guy." It's like no, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
even the Beatles were a great example because yes, they had times where they would write, but it was just so like they had been doing it for decades and they were so free and it was so like easy for them because they'd been doing it so long that it was like, you know, okay, let's write a song, sure. But they were just able to get into that state. It wasn't this sort of like corporate forced sort of,
Yeah,
thing,
it
I
does feel
guess.
very forced.
And
Yeah.
so I write in the way that I would imagine everybody wrote back then, which is just like I'm just having fun. I'll just sit outside every day with like I'll make good food and like I'll have, water or a cigar or just hang out, relax, read a little bit. There's no
You
jam.
yeah.
You
Oh,
just
yeah.
have a guitar around you, you just live your life. There's a guitar around you every day, and sometimes you pick it up and you just like I don't almost every song I've ever written that I think is decent was never like I'm writing a song right now. It was just
Yeah,
I would just picked
it's
up the
not
guitar
ever
like any day,
forced.
picked up
Yeah.
the guitar like any day, and all of a sudden it kind of just like you hit an idea and you're like, oh, that sounds cool, or like, oh wait, that could be a good that could be like a good thing right here, and then all of a sudden you just have a verse with no words, and then
Yeah.
I would just write that down. I would just remember it for months, and then one day I might come back to it and be like, okay, I should finish the song, or one day I'll
Yeah.
find a random chorus and be like, oh, that chorus would work really good over this verse that I made months ago. And then not neither one has lyrics all of a sudden. And then I'm like,
Sure.
and I'm scrolling onto that forever. And then I remember I was in the studio with Dave Cobb and I didn't even have like, he was there. I at least five of the songs didn't have the lyrics done. Right. That I just
Yeah.
finished right there in the studio because I came in just with that free, open sort of like I have tons of ideas, tons of them are not done, tons of them I
Yeah,
don't.
you have the elements, but they aren't quite, like, piecemeal together yet.
Most of them are random, and it's just kind of like let's just see what happens. I know for a fact that if I had an idea for a song and a melody and a chords, I could absolutely finish the lyrics in, 20 minutes. That doesn't mean they're gonna be the best lyrics, right? And
Yeah.
oftentimes that's the scary part where it's like sometimes I delay a song for a year from writing lyrics for it because I can never find the right ones. And I feel so insecure and I feel like this is terrible, this is not good. I'm never gonna get this right. Like I'm never gonna get there. So I may as well just not do it. And I think that's definitely a problem point for me is like, when I was in the studio with Dave, he was just like, okay, we got to do it. And I just did it, for a lot of songs, I kind of in the moment or sort of like finished certain parts of lyrics in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that like going more on that point is like that problem of sort of never finishing the lyrics. It's like, procrastinating or sort of some songs that come super easy. Some songs I'm like,
Yeah.
the lyrics were obvious, they were there, like, the melody was there, the harmony was like a gift from God or something. It was like the song was insanely easy, but other
Yeah.
songs, I'm so I can't figure it out. I'm never figuring it out, like, the lyrics, I just can't get them, and so then I end up, like, just putting random words down or random lyrics down that are, like, quote, unquote, "poetic," but they're really just nothingness, right? They're just random, and then I'm feeling bad later because 'cause I'm like, "I can't believe that I just put random stuff in there. I can't believe I didn't think about it harder." But I think that sort of annoyance or that sort of, like, inability to get that really comes from this sort of, like, I think any artist, or I'd imagine, you know, not to say I'm a particularly exceptional artist, but that I would imagine the greatest artist, at least I have it in myself, which is like, I can almost feel this feeling of like, I know what it's supposed to be. Like, I can
Yeah.
feel this feeling, like, even on an individual song level, where I'm like, I can feel what this song is supposed to be, what it's meant to be. It's almost like a God makes perfect art, right? Like, perfect art might, in theory, exist, just like perfection might actually exist, but it's like beyond the world. And the artist
Yeah.
like reaches for perfection, is like trying to get there and like has that in their mind. Like I can feel what it's supposed to, but I'm just never getting there. And it's bothering me
Yeah.
so much because I'm like, I can feel what I'm supposed to be doing here, but I'm not getting it. Like I'm missing
Yeah.
them.
Trying to hit
Or not
the
right.
perfection. Yeah, what you feel like is perfection. But I think the outcome, the interpretation, the final version of it, to me, like, that almost feels like perfection because it is what it is. Like, it came out, and this is how it came out, and this is how it ended up, and this is what you have, and this is the final piece, and this is the art, and it's perfect because that's how it happened. Like,
100%. And I think
yeah,
like I completely agree with that because I think there's human perfection and there's like divine perfection, right? And it's
right.
like it actually is perfect because it's so human and because it's like we aren't
Perfect
that.
because it's imperfect. It's perfect
Exactly.
because it's imperfect. Yeah, which is, a lot of people. Uh, I think that's one of the things too that like you see as people strive for perfection and whatever it is out there that's shoved down our throats is like a version of what perfection is. But in the most revered artists in history, the songwriters, kind of like some of the people who like you gave inspirations from, were highly imperfect. Like their lives, their experiences, like Towns, like he to me he's one of the best songwriters and like highly imperfect individual. But the art that came from it is like revered because of the fact. And I think that's, you know,
100%.
the
Like
outcome is beautiful. Yeah.
100%. I would imagine he was also pointing at he could, he was pointing at this sort of thing that feels like what it's supposed to be, but he was never getting there either. But it's like
Yeah.
it becomes this perfect human, beautiful thing because it's human, right? That's what art's supposed to be. It's supposed to
Exactly.
connect you to me, connect me to you on a human, dignified level. It's not supposed to be, just sound. It's not supposed to be idol worship. It's not supposed
Yeah.
to be, all this stuff. It's just I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I agree with you completely.
You were right in line. Perfection and beauty in the eye of the beholder. I think both things go hand in hand. Like it's very much up to your own opinion about what either one is. How was it working with Dave? I'm curious. I mean, he's such, like Grammy Award winning producer. Like, yeah. How was that?
Yeah, it was another weird thing, sort of a lot of sort of coincidences that just happened where I remember when I was in high school, there was only sort of the latter part of high school. I really, I think it was junior year or senior year when Marcus King dropped Carolina Confessions.
Yeah.
I was either a junior or a senior, I think. Maybe I was a sophomore, but I became so into that album for some reason because I really fell in love with Marcus King in those early videos. I was watching him at Norman's Rare Guitars and the super, super early videos of him when I was like young, and I remember just being like, this guy is so good at guitar. Like, people don't realize how good he is at guitar. Like, because I was just in that guitar world. I was gonna do jazz. Like, I was considering going to Berkeley, like potentially on scholarship. Like, I had, and I was gonna go
Nice.
do that. But
Yeah.
I ended up not doing that. Very grateful that I pursued something else. But I remember thinking, this guy's so insanely good at guitar. People don't realize how good
Yeah.
he is. If this guy was
I
in the
don't think
70s,
he realizes how good he is.
like if this guy was in the 70s, and like most people don't realize that because they just listen to his music. But like
Yeah.
I was, you go on YouTube, actually look up some of those live performances from back in the day, like when he was young too. It's like if that guy was alive in the 70s, he'd be one of the greatest guitarists. Like, he'd be like on the list, right? But because he exists today, people don't care about guitar anymore. Not a big deal. There's tons of great guitarists because we have Instagram, and it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel as exceptional. But for those who know,
Yeah.
it is actually next level. The style is completely unique. His understanding of jazz and his understanding of like just music is so exceptional. And I think like his what he's doing now is a little different from what I, fell in love with him for, but at least in my experience, I still look at Carolina Confessions and I'm like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else like that, in my opinion, that he's done since. Like that album was maybe it is because it hit me at a certain time in my life, and maybe it is because of those things and the biases that I might have. But man, it was so good. And I remember listening to this album and I was just like, man, this is so good. And I
Yeah.
remember listening to the producer and it was Dave.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
great. Genuinely, maybe the only album, maybe genuinely, sorry, the only producer's name that I knew. I didn't know like of any other producers, but he's the only name I knew. And when I
Mhm.
got my manager in junior year of college, when I started to do a little well on TikTok and stuff, I remember the first meeting I ever had with my manager. He goes, what's your dreams or what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to make an album with this guy named Dave Cobb one day. Like that's what I want to do. And
Put
that's
it
the
out in the
first thing I ever
universe.
said to him.
Yeah.
He laughed. He was like, he laughed to do that. That was funny. And like, there's no way that's happening because he did Chris Stapleton's first albums and all that sort of stuff, and he's real big time. And so I kind of just was like, okay, whatever. But then eventually, somebody got in contact with somebody, and then he told somebody, and then Dave saw my stuff somehow because somebody showed him, and then Dave goes, yeah, like 100%, I would love to make an album with that guy. And so
Wow.
then that was just. I remember that day. It was like really crazy because I was like, wow, like that's so insane that like it's so insane that I genuinely thought or I wanted this to happen and then it actually happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't deserve it or I kind of feel like I'm not that great or I'm not this, but you know, it happened. And then when I was actually there, I remember I specifically told my management, I said, I don't want to play any shows for like 2 weeks before the fact. And then all of a sudden something happens and I had like a run of five shows literally the day before I was supposed to go to the studio, which is kind of how I was. And so I'm on tour with 49 Winchester. And it is literally the next day that I have to be, sorry, it was 2 days that I had to be in the studio with Dave. But because it was
Yeah.
so far, I took my own car and I drove like 16 hours from where I was playing with 49 Winchester. I drove through the night, slept
Yeah.
like to a hotel, drove the entire next day, got to the studio at like 10 at night, and then woke up the next morning and it was recording time. And not only was it like time to record the album, we only had 4 days with the studio musicians, and nobody had heard a single demo because David like we'd sent him the demos with like I realized quickly like he basically he didn't even listen to him basically or he listened to him a little bit, but I think like that was part of the thing, which was which was what I wanted, which was it was just so natural and free and sort of open and beautiful and sort of like, hey, show me the song, like show me the song in person, let me
Yeah.
hear it, like let me understand what's going on here, and I would show it to the studio musicians, right there, and we would just play it right there and sort of feel it right there, and they would write down the chords like right then, and sort of like what's going on, and then we would just start playing the song, basically improvising, and then they would say, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do this, or maybe we should put a solo here, or maybe we should do this, or and then that was it, and it was live, it was real, it was like just in the moment, and
Yeah.
it's exactly what I wanted. It was so beautiful. Of course, there are things I look back and I'm like, I wish I did this. I wish I had this happen. I wish we didn't do this. I wish it was this way. But again, it's the realness, it's the rawness.
It all happened naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Dave's willingness to do that. And I think because he's done so many great things, in the past that he's able to have that authority to do that. Whereas
Yeah.
most producers today, I mean, they have to like, it's more like,
Ostracized a little bit. Yeah. Like, gotta be here,
yeah,
here. Yep.
working on exactly on the demos. We're doing a ton of what's it called? How am I forgetting the name? Like pre-recording or something when they hang out a bunch before they actually go record, so they can like go through all the
Mhm.
songs together and stuff. Like they didn't want to do any of that. They
Yeah.
didn't know.
No prep. Just come in,
Yeah.
let it happen naturally.
No,
Yeah.
no prep, no like not even much of a schedule. We would just leave for like 3 hours on the boat and just like go do stuff, and then we come back at night and we'd be recording the songs because we were like in a house like sleeping there, like all even with all the studio musicians and stuff. So there was just it's
Yeah.
not it was not like this hour to this hour. It's just kind of like just having fun the whole time, and they're handing drinks, and then go eat, and then just go do another song at night, and then go do just complete off just feeling and like love and ease and peace of mind, and like
That's
that's
so
how
cool.
you know.
Yeah. He seems to be of the mind that it's the experience that creates like a lot that seems to be like the seed of creativity. Like, let's just put people in their natural element. Let's get them open and like having fun and free and like, engaging with each other and everything will come naturally. And it's like, yeah, the experience is what drives it.
100%. And I think sometimes that can lend itself to extremes where it's like some albums will be the best album in that entire year or decade, maybe in country
Sure.
music. But some albums will, it's riskier, where things might not
Mhm.
work out, or certain songs, it's like, oh, damn, like that one did not do what I hoped it did. Or like that song didn't come out how I wanted it to, or I think this was wrong, or I think this was wrong. But at the end of the day, you realize it's like the randomness of it, the humanness of it, the naturalness of it is what makes it good, is what makes it
Yeah.
like mean something. And like, striving for consistency is what's making music so bad with all these record labels that are like, come on, we need to make our
You gotta do
numbers.
3 in a year, and then you've gotta
We
do
got our
another 3
return.
this year.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to get our returns for this quarter, so let's make another batch of the same shit and promote it the same way.
Our shareholders are needing this right now. Let's go.
Yeah.
I feel that. Oh my gosh, that sounds great. I would love if I was a musician in another life, I would love to work with him. There's so many people that I love to work with, like but yeah, that's great. I love that. Let me read these sponsor things real fast and then we can have a few more questions. Okay.
Yeah, go.
Don't make fun of me because I gotta read it.
Yeah, don't worry.
Or read a script. Okay. Our first sponsor is Modern West Media. For brands and artists of the country and Western industry, Modern West Media exists to help you amplify your story and mission through strategic marketing consulting, content strategy, and performance advertising to not just rack up likes, but install a system that finds new consumers and turns them into lifelong fans. Visit modernwestmedia.com for a free audit. Our second sponsor is World Whiskey Society. Founded with one goal, curating the most unique whiskeys for spirit lovers of all kinds, World Whiskey Society has spins on your favorite classics or new versions of special collections like the Wild West Collection, with variety celebrating figures like Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. If you like whiskey with your country music, go to worldwhiskey.com/real country for 10% off anything in their store. Now we'll get back to our guest.
Cool.
Here we go. I always feel like weird just like going from like having an open conversation. I'm like, let me read these scripts really fast,
No, it's good
But
for us.
cool. Well, do you ever feel like there's a little bit of pressure? Um, because I see a lot of people, myself included, who kind of put you in one of these groups where it's like, they're keeping traditional country alive, or like there's a modern spin on the traditional sounds of classic country music. Do you ever feel like a little bit of pressure that people are looking to you to kind of preserve this sound?
That's an interesting question. I would say not necessarily,
No.
but at the same time, I mean, maybe a tiny bit. To be honest, I think I don't really hear that a ton. To be honest, I think you know, that I'm sure that sentiment exists, and it may exist if I get bigger too, especially. And I'm sure it definitely exists with people like Zach Top and that sort of thing with 90s.
Yeah.
But I don't feel big enough right now. I still have, maybe other people look at me and they go, "Oh, he's doing well." But from my perspective, I feel like I always feel like I'm not doing well enough, or that I'm, not as big as maybe other people think I am. I'm not like,
Yeah.
um, and but with that sort of thing, I mean, maybe a little bit, but I feel like I'm doing different enough stuff where it's
Yeah.
kind of I'm trying to break out of the box. But I totally agree in that people expect me to do something. Maybe it's not that they, you know, want me to uphold this thing, and I'm sure they do, but it's more like I definitely feel the sense of like, okay, they might expect a certain thing, but what if I don't
Yeah.
want to do that thing? Or what if I'm not
Yeah.
trying to
That's
do
what I was
exact
going for. Yeah.
I'm not trying to do exactly what you're expecting. I do love traditional country, and I love the Blaze Point, I love the towns, and I love Merle Haggard and all that stuff. But at the same time, I want to just do what I feel, just do
Yeah.
what I love. And it's gonna be a little different, it's gonna be like Marianaville's, and like the difference between, like a song like Jamie and Firstborn Home is like,
Mhm.
intensely different, like
Yeah.
very different. I don't think most people, most artists would have, or like most artists would make. I'm not saying that people don't have immense variety. Of course, people do, but I feel like it's particularly different. Where it's
Mhm.
like it almost seems like two completely different. It is almost two completely different genres. Or Marianaville. and Firstborn Home or
Yeah.
Marianaville and Old Valley Road or Wildflowers. It's like that feels way different. It feels like almost like
Yeah.
indie country, not indie, but sort of, Eagles 70s old sort of thing to then like, super folk, almost yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of variation. There's a lot of cross industry or cross genre inspiration in a lot of your stuff, but it makes it very uniquely you. And I do think people appreciate that and openly critical too, like you saying, yeah, you don't think you're as big as like maybe some other people expect you to. But from the outside looking in, it's like, wow, there's like this very young artist who's coming up and is just like has this maturity of sound and like this uniqueness and this blend of all these kind of different genres. And it's so authentic and it's what people are looking for, you know? And I think that's interesting too when you talk about expectation. I feel like a lot of artists feel like they're expected to stick into a box and
Yeah.
that they're kind of going to be like lose fans or I don't know, be like talked down to um if they kind of go against that, but people do have
Yes.
to realize like you're the artist and that's kind of your choice, but honestly, I think people very much appreciate what you're doing. And even with the choices that you're making, if you go outside of the box a little bit, I think they're going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one of those things. And I'm always curious because, too, from the outside looking in, and I think my perspective of the way that I look at like the country music industry and what's happening over here versus what's happening over here, which are the people I like to more talk about, is that's a very shared sentiment is like, hey, I'm just kind of making art, like whatever I want to do, and people are liking it. So, hey, let's keep doing what we're doing. So
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, good
100%.
answer.
I'm gonna strive for that and sort of just do whatever. But man, it's very true that I think a lot of people feel that pressure to fit
Mhm.
in a certain box,
Yeah,
especially, young people, I think, or people that are sort of, you know, I don't know, for whatever reason, you definitely have a type that's just feelings or like they have to fit something. And I feel bad because I'm almost aware and I'm like, man, like like come on, like, I can feel in people that like they have more, they can do more, but they keep making this thing that's like similar to all these other things. And I'm like,
yeah,
why? Like why
feels
why are we
familiar. Yeah,
why are we all just copycatting? Like why is there so much just like Zach Bryan copy paste but with like something a little bit different to it? It's like do something completely different. And I think a lot of that is also just like the product of society. We live in a world today that's kind of like, I don't know. I think there's some part of like we live in a world that's very kind of like nice. It's like everything, be nice about everything, be nice all the time. Everything's great, everything's beautiful. Like
yeah,
we just live in this world of relativism, sort of like, and it's hurt a lot of people. And I think we also live in a world that, at least growing up, and not in a way that to be like cringe or something, but the world definitely growing up. And I know for a lot of men my age, which is very anti-man, is very sort
yeah.
of like anti-strength and kind of like, you know, pursuing truth,
Hide your
kind of
emotions
disregarding,
and yeah,
yeah, and sort of like disregarding, like disregarding the status quo and whatever the world wants you to believe. That is not like as common today. I feel like as it may have been in the past. Standing up for what you believe in, like fighting for things, sort of thing. And I think that permeates into the art where people aren't like standing up as much and being like, no, I don't care. I don't care about what you want me to do or what the world thinks I should do or what's, gonna do well or this. It's like just do what's good and beautiful and what you love and like something different. But
yeah,
that takes a sort of, you know, ideology or a sort of way of thinking that is like not as, the world doesn't want that. They want everybody to kind of just fit in the box and, do the same thing. But
yeah. Wow. I again agree completely, and it takes a lot of confidence too for people to kind of step back and be like, well, I see what's working. I see what I could do, but that's not inherently me. So I'm gonna have the confidence to just be, yeah, me and different and creative and just kind of do what I want to do. And if I find my fan base, then I do. I'm gonna keep making art anyway. So
yeah. And even within that, I will say that I am not like, I'm not some sort of exception. Like anytime I talk to people about this, it's like hard to sometimes talk about ideas without acting as if you're talking about yourself. It's like I'm not just talking about myself. I am not some sort of like exception to all these things. I can absolutely feel sometimes in my own music where I'm like I'm almost making compromises without even knowing it. I'm like, oh no, like I start
yeah,
thinking about if people are gonna like this, or I start thinking about like, oh, I should make this song because it's gonna do well, and I'm like, oh no, like
hyperfixation on
it's
these
it's
moments.
really easy to get in that headspace where,
Yeah,
and I definitely know some artists that they're not even aware they're in that headspace, and they are just like every song they make is just is this going to do well? Let me just endlessly try to make music and art. Like art is, important and serious, very serious. And if you're like taking it that on seriously, where I just want to make money off people, I just want to be more famous, what's just going to do better?
Yeah.
Like that's a dangerous game you're playing,
Yeah.
especially if truth exists, like if God is out there, that's a dangerous game to be playing, to just have that sort of like, disregard for the seriousness and importance of art and beauty. Because art is really just in everything. It's in the whole world, and it's like it's a serious game. I think that's being played, and I wish it was taken more seriously.
And you're inspiring me to, like, to think about things differently the way that you're saying. I was like, I've had this whole thing recently where, like, I own another business outside of, like, doing this with music, and it's in marketing and, like, an avenue that is not having anything to do with artists or anything like that whatsoever, and I've been doing it for years, and it's been the last, like, year and a half of this, like, push-pull of me being like, "This is what I feel like I wanna do. This is where I wanna be creative. This is, like, things that I wanna try, but I'm really scared to do it." And on the other hand, it's like, actually, no, I'm gonna stick with what I know. I'm gonna stick with what's consistent. I'm gonna stick with what, like, the society is telling me that I need to do because I have this skill and it makes money. And it's like, it's like an inspirational thing to just kind of step back and look at it and be like, you know, I don't have to pursue this just because, like, I think this is what people expect or the only way to, like, make a life or a career or whatever kind of thing, you know?
Course,
So,
and to the same way, it's like I also deeply understand people got to make money and stuff, right? And so
right.
I hear that other argument. I'll talk about this with people, or people that maybe don't, they're like, well, some people just got to make money, and like we got families, and I completely understand that. That's a whole different like that's a whole different set of issues. Like I'm not
Yeah.
talking towards that. Of course, like I respect anybody that's trying has trying to make money. People that are trying to an extent, right? When you're trying to just endlessly make millions because you're just obsessed with money and yourself, and that's a problem.
And the
But
next
I do
level, and the next
understand.
level, and yeah.
But yeah, I totally understand. Of course, everybody has to make certain amounts of compromises, right, in life. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, because it's not we're not living in perfection. So yeah,
Right.
yes, I think that that's not I think that that's not actually the norm, and I think that's not the reason. Like people will say that, like, and yes, I'm sure that's absolutely the case in many cases. But the reason that art has fallen so far is not because of that. It's because of people just want to be famous and they just want more money and they just want to be
True.
liked and they want to fit in and they want to just make the thing that's happened to music is because of greed and because of disregard of truth and sort of just thinking that you can, I don't know, just manipulate the world into liking anything almost. It's like at one
Mhm.
point they're going to start making white noise and being like, look at this.
This is awesome. This is so cool. Well, you did one of the sessions with Broken Bow, right? I think I saw some of the songs that you did with those guys, which it seems like from what I see on there, and I absolutely love that account. They share a lot of the same sentiments, like classic, kind of like Western values. I know he kind of talked about like growing up with the values that his grandpa did, that kind of thing. How did you guys get? Did they just like reach out to you on socials and kind of like have you do, or did you know them before or know him
Yeah.
before?
Yeah,
Know him
actually,
before?
I met him once because he came to a show at a Mishawaka amphitheater in Colorado.
Oh,
But
nice.
I
Yeah.
I knew he was gonna come. Although actually, he met me, but he didn't even tell me who he was. So I thought I was just meeting a random fan. I was like, "Oh, like pleasure to meet you." And then later he was like, "Oh, that was me." I was like, "Oh, okay." I kind of felt
Oh
bad
my
because
gosh.
I didn't talk to him much. But yeah, we'd been friends on Instagram or something and DMing a little bit for a long time. Actually,
Nice.
significantly before I ever worked with him, back when he did not have anywhere near the followers he has now. So
Yeah.
like, it's not even close. And so, yeah,
I'm, like, amazed. I'm amazed at I love it so much, and then when I kinda dug into it, it's just maybe, like, a couple of years ago, I don't even know how long he's had it, but when I found out, like, he started this when he was 16, I was just, like, blown away. I was like, "Holy cow, that's awesome."
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so grateful he, working with me or kind of like in the whole scene. And I'm also just very grateful that he's standing up for sort of a lot of the things
Yep.
that
Agree.
I believe in, pushing towards more of this like, truth sort of thing. And yeah, just I think he's an awesome dude. And I think it's representative of where the youth is moving, right? And I think the world hasn't
Yeah.
really felt it yet, but they're gonna start to feel it like in this next, unless we have some sort of insane world war or something, but it feels like things are changing among the youth. People are waking up to like, just all the fakeness, I guess.
I agree. One can only hope. Well, talk to me before we close out. Talk to me about this year. What do you have in store? So I know well, congratulations, Nora. I didn't think I didn't tell you this earlier, but you just signed with is it
Big
Big Wave
Loud,
Texas
Big Loud
this
and
year?
Mercury. Yeah,
And
it's like a
Mercury.
dual deal.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Yeah.
congrats on that. So what's in store for this year with that?
Yeah, I kind of just, obviously I had to go into the record deal, this sort of idea of like, don't sign a record deal if you're trying to do like cool traditional stuff. It's going to mess you up.
Yeah, they're gonna tell you to do not that.
And so I went into it knowing that and my management knew that about me and sort of like, I'm just not gonna have that. So it's actually been great. Yeah, I think they know that. It's because of that.
Nice.
It's like trying not to interfere too much. Like I'm trying to stand up for things and being like, no, it's got to look this way, because I think, and even with Big Loud, like to their credit, they've really like they're getting better at sort of like doing my style, right? Because they mostly
Yeah,
do more contemporary stuff. They mostly do more of that sort of like the norm of the top charts of pop country sort of thing.
sure.
And I think because they've done that so much, they're so ingrained in that sometimes like they'll put a font on one of my things and it's like, okay, that font is not it. Or like because they're not totally understanding like what the old thing totally looks like, but they've gotten better 100%. Like,
Yeah,
and I think they're willing to learn, and I think they're
they're growing with
so
you.
far everybody I've met there is genuinely great people. And I think they're wanting to you know do this thing of trying to make this different type of art and sort of like promote it. And it's not easy. Obviously, it's not anywhere remotely the same as the other stuff.
Yeah,
It's going to take a different path. It's going to take a different way of promotion, and it's also harder to make things look old, or even just make things look authentic. Like it's not
yeah,
even have the old style, but like to try to make something new but make it look authentic. It's like you have to use different types of photos. You have to use different types of
yeah.
color grading. You have to sort of like think about different fonts. You have to.
Isn't that
It
good to
takes a
make
lot of
something look
work.
like less polished? It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, because it's super easy to just go on Canva and do all the normal fonts that like the contemporary world knows and the normal edits
Yeah,
and never put it out. And it's just like a normal photo of just a guy next to a truck. And it's just like, that's so easy. It's hard to do something like, let's make it look like different and, do
yeah.
some, what are the fonts that they used in the past? Why is it that every font I
Little
see,
vintage tones and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
why is it done with every font I see feels new? Like you can feel it. There's something ineffable that you can like you just can't put your hand on that they had back in
yeah,
the day when they were hand drawing albums or when they were painting things or when they were taking different photos or real photos or something. It's just not, it's hard to do that.
yeah.
But it's going great.
Very
Yeah, and I love
good.
the label so far. No issues.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. Yeah, I always, ask people different sentiments about their feelings with like a label and stuff. So I'm glad that your experience has been awesome. And I'm assuming then since we put out, so you actually just had a recent single. Wow, it was this past Friday, wasn't it? Like just a few days ago. So are you working on an album for this year?
Yeah, so the whole album was already recorded with Dave, and so we've been releasing it in
Oh,
singles, and then the
okay.
EP. So this EP that's coming,
Nice.
new singles, those were the ones with Dave. And so I guess with this most recent single release, there's 6 out, and there's still 4 left. And so they're probably
Okay.
gonna do one more single, and then the whole album is gonna drop in May. So then it's just
Love
gonna be 10. And honestly, I wanted to do more than 10, and I was kind of pushing Dave to do like 11, maybe even 12. But
yeah.
Dave was just like, no, like he just
No.
wanted to do 10. It was gonna be 10.
Round out 10.
Which is great, and I'm looking back. I'm actually like, okay, that was cool to not do too many, but I'm
Yeah.
still like, man, I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of songs that like I want to put out. A lot of ideas. The best song in the world that I have written is always the one I just wrote. It's like I'm
Yeah.
already sort of forgotten about those songs. Some of them I don't even like. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't like that was terrible. Genuinely like I got better stuff. I can do better. I want to try to do better. Let me make
Yeah.
some good. I don't know.
There you go. We have a treasure trove of songs that you can keep pulling for and keep releasing for like ever, which I'm sure are going to make people really, really happy. So good for you. I can't wait for that. And you said May? New album in May?
Yeah, I believe it's. I'm not sure the exact date. I'm not even sure if I was supposed to say it's in May. I don't know if it matters. I mean,
I can cut it
they
out.
haven't dropped that information, so maybe I'm not supposed to say that. And if I'm not supposed to say that, I'm sorry. I had no idea. But
I'll pull it out. Or I can actually just wait until they maybe announce it and then post it. Or just like, I'll play it by ear. I can
yeah,
sell
I
it
mean,
out.
they must be announcing it soon. I mean, it's
Yeah.
coming up in about a few months. So
That's so funny. I know people are always like, oops, I don't know if I was supposed to say that
yeah,
date or not. I'm like,
I,
it's off the record. Whatever you want to say.
yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm gonna leave you with this question because it's been honestly, Coleman, what a great conversation. Like, appreciate you sharing your insights and your beliefs. And I love what you're doing, and I'm excited to see where your career goes and what you end up doing. But I'm gonna leave you with this. Like when you kind of think forward into your career, and I know we talked a lot about like your idea is just creating art that you love and that people love too. But when you look forward, what is one thing that you want to make sure that you're remembered for, or that you stood for, or that people recognize you for?
Definitely God. I think, you know, truth sort of.
Faith, truth.
I think I'll definitely, the music is really just a vehicle to be a representation of beauty,
Yeah.
truth, God, and like on all the things that I say and all the things that I do and speak, it's like none of it is from me, like I'm not the writer of the music. It's not me. It's not, my talent. It's not my this. And like I don't want to be overly humble or overly pious or something. It's just I was an atheist most of my life. And I think having
Really?
come like yeah, I was, I'm not unbelieving, really not caring at all and deeply sort of like overly partying and I didn't understand what ideas like sin were or these things that oh my gosh, I would have just absolutely laughed at hearing or just like all
Yeah.
these sort of things that I don't know, didn't care about. And sort of it was only in the last few years, maybe once I started to learn about God or once I started to learn about these ideas of truth and God and all this history and the people that study these things, the people that are obsessed with these ideas. And I was just kind of like, so many questions that I had were answered,
Yeah.
so many questions on art too and life. And for how long, for how much of my life did I have this feeling of like there's something wrong with the world or there's something wrong with art, there's something missing here, there's some sort of lack of beauty that used to be the case. Why is it gone? Like what happened? Like why
Yeah.
why were we different back then and nowadays? Well, it's because of God, because of truth. When the society, when the world stops caring about those things, when they start saying truth is all relative, God doesn't exist, these things don't matter, the world falls apart.
Yeah.
And like I would I would love if I could have my music do amazingly well and have my name not attached to it, because I don't like I'd love to just live in the woods, have a good time, you know, be healthy, make beautiful art, talk about truth, God, all these things, but just like I don't need my name on there. Like I know unfortunately like that's kind of the game. And again, it's not to be I really don't want to be like overly I want something I'm trying to say it genuinely in the sense of a
Yeah.
genuinely I want to live a life of just peace, love. I think God actually is real. Like I think there is really something else, you know. And yeah.
Beautiful. That's yeah. What an amazing answer. Yeah, you
Yeah.
found your answer in faith and the divine and a belief in something more, which yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
I think a lot of people are searching for that. Like I was, well,
Absolutely.
I wasn't searching for it. It happened upon me. And I think a lot of people,
They're
they,
needing it. They're
they
needing
don't even know
something
what
like
they
that.
want. A
Yeah.
lot of people right now, they genuinely, it's like, I didn't know what I wanted. I still don't know what I want. It's like, I think I want something and I get that thing and I realize, oh, I did not, I shouldn't have wanted that at all.
Oh my god, same. Oh
So
my
many
gosh.
people,
Oh my gosh.
so many people, they have no idea what they want. They say they want this thing and they pursue this thing and they think they want money and fame and they're trying to chase this thing. It's like that'll never get you there. And I'll tell you, sorry, I don't want to make this go too long or anything. If you're pressed on time or something, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. Please, no, please.
Yeah, I'm not either. But I was just, I, I really feel like it also came about, yes, because of the art thing and the truth thing and all these things, but also because of the social media thing and sort of, I'm not famous. Let's be clear, not at all, but
Yeah.
not particularly. But even getting a little bit of it, even just kind of like getting like there were times when I would get a million views on something, or like, and I'm not doing as well as at least in terms of views as I used to. But when I got like a million views or 3 million views on Cowpoke, or like all these messages people were getting me, and like people would like companies would send me like some free thing, and like people would recognize. I was in college, right? So people would recognize me at the bar. I would go into a college bar, and it was like tons of people that I don't know, like would talk or say things or this, and getting like, attention, and sort of
Yeah.
going from like genuine insecurity to all of a sudden the fakeness of the world where people all of a sudden were like talking to you and like all of a sudden being nice to you and all of a sudden you have all this and it's like this it was so like I was chasing this thing because I probably wanted that validation to an extent. I said I didn't, but like, you know, I definitely probably wanted it. And I still everybody does to an extent. And
Yeah.
I was getting it, once I got it, it took me a little while to eventually be like, no, I don't like this thing at all. Or like I don't
Yeah.
want this thing, or this isn't it. This isn't fulfilling anything. Like it
Yeah.
gives you a little bit for a moment, and it feels kind of cool to be like famous or have people commenting on your stuff until eventually it's like, well, this is like there's no amount of fame, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of like it's just like it's like King Solomon, it's like
Yeah.
not like I'm like that, but and the same thing with
It could be fleeting too. And it's just, yeah,
yeah, it is
definitely feel
all sort of
addicted.
all aspects of pleasure, all aspects of pleasure seeking, and like it's just all meaningless, honestly. Because to what extent are you going to get that thing and it's going to make you happy, or it's going to like
Sure.
that is not purposeful. That doesn't give you purpose pursuing those things. So like I don't know. It was like I found a lot of purpose in God, sort of like
Yeah.
that. It's just it is real for real.
That's
So
good.
that's the only thing that I would hope I am remembered for.
I love that. I love it. I know it's like this achievement versus fulfillment thing, the duality between the two. They're not always one and the same, like accolades, achieving, XYZ with whatever your career and whatnot, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's fulfillment until you find what it is that fulfills you and what brings you purpose. And it's not the same for
Exactly. Of
everyone.
course.
So,
I know achievement is still great. It's still something to be pursued. Like,
yeah.
and I'm so grateful and I'm so lucky and I'm just insanely blessed to get to live like any bit of this life.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like the achievements don't really mean much. I mean, it's awesome, but it's like if the achievements are just your own, it's like it's all about me. It's like it's just shallow and it feels wrong.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't do these things genuinely. Like I'm doing them in a human sense, but it's like it's for the sake of something else. It's for the sake of, God, truth, goodness, sort of like being in line with let's do good.
Well, you, my friend, are such a genuine person, amazingly well spoken, and I appreciate your time so much. And guys, if you haven't heard his music, please do stream wherever you get your music. Make sure you go check out a tour schedule. I'm assuming that you have out for some shows that are coming up for the rest of the year. I think I saw you're going to go do some with maybe Ben Todd and a couple others as well, or you have some
Yes, I'll be
headliner
with
shows too.
Benjamin. Yeah, I'll be with Benjamin Todd in I think April, and I'm
Nice,
gonna do two more shows with Dwight Yoakam in 2 more weeks from now. We're doing one is at Choctaw Casino in Oklahoma, so that's gonna be cool. And we're
nice.
also just at a last casino that did not go well. I
Oh,
you know, shouldn't have played the slots. Unfortunately, down like $800 or something, which is a lot for me. So
yeah.
that was not
Nice.
good. But gonna control myself.
You win some, you lose some.
Gonna control myself at Choctaw, and then doing one show at 49 Winchester this week. I think Saturday or no, maybe Friday. And then we have two headline shows this week, and then we're playing I think like Tuesday at the Houston Rodeo, some small stage. Just
Nice. Yeah. Houston
then
Rodeo is awesome.
yeah, we'll be doing a bunch of other small stuff, but I'm not touring like crazy. I'm not constantly on the road, because I don't want to be. I like having you need that time off. How can
Yes, you
you can't
do.
create you can't create if you're constantly like in this tour state. It's man, it's not fun. Already I'm like I love the life of it, man. I can't imagine the people that tour literally all
Yeah.
year. The people that tour where they're like, you know, they're gone for like 200 something days. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I could ever do that. I would definitely want to tour and like do it, and but not like that. I can't. I have so much respect and just I could never do that. It's crazy.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. I really don't. I look at like, I don't know if you know Taylor Honeycutt. I feel like she's out of Alabama. I feel like she's on the road like you said, like 230 days a year. Like she's just
I can't
yeah,
imagine.
and like Charlie Crockett, and then even Ben's tour schedule this year, I feel like is quite extensive. But that being said, I agree. You need that kind of rest and recharge and relax and be able to be creative and not go, go, go all the time, but still good to hear
100%.
that you have all those, yeah, opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, like the switch from all the money's being made on touring, whereas it used to be made on just the vinyl and like the actual music.
Sales,
That
yeah,
switch
digital
has
sales,
like
yeah.
screwed over the artist, where now they have to like slave away touring nonstop all the time. And now it's like,
Streaming, yeah, like
and that's why the
Point
music. That's
Zero,
another reason why the music was better because
yeah,
they can make the money off the vinyl and then hang out and not have to tour crazy amounts and have more peace. For now, it's like people are pressed to tour like nobody's business. It's
I
crazy.
know. I was talking to the Reeves brothers a couple of weekends ago, and they said I think it takes like 1 million streams to make like 5 grand on a song
I don't
or
think.
like
I
in
think it's
general, maybe not
less
even
than
that
that.
much. Really?
I think it's less than that. Oh, I'm not completely. To be honest, I'm not. I don't really know, but
That's
but I
so
remember
crazy.
I remember I did look years ago, and it was like 1 million for 2000. But it might be different now because of inflation and stuff.
That is wild. Yeah, like 0.003 whatever that they pay. Oh, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, this type of music ain't getting as many streams, so it's like, you know, but I love it. It's
Good.
I love every part of it.
Well, I'm hoping to see you out on the road. I think the only time I've actually seen you play was when you were here for Americana Fest last year.
Oh yeah,
Sky Deck thing for Big Loud. Yeah, I was like, I
that was
gotta go to
fun.
that.
That was a good show.
So fun. I liked that a lot. I like Sky Deck. It's a cool venue, but yeah, so I'm hoping to maybe catch one when you're on the road somewhere or something like that. I got to do a little bit of traveling this year, so we'll find one.
Cool, cool. Yeah, just come whenever. We will get you in for free, no problem. Just let me know.
I'm one of the ones that likes to just support, I get it's like, I people can let me in for free, but I'd rather just go and buy a ticket, buy the merch, and I've told many
Yeah,
people that before, like it's I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be taking content anyway, so like you don't have to let me in for free. Just I think I'd rather just be here, support the artists and stuff like that. So don't feel like you need to do that. I'm gonna come out and support anyways. But anyway,
that's
well, that being said, I appreciate you spending your time and your insights, and it was an enlightening conversation. And like I said, guys, make sure you go check him out wherever you get your music. Yeah, buy vinyl, merch, and check him out at a show. So,
cool.
yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I really do.
No, thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
It has. Love the conversation. Thanks.
Really, thank you.